We, Women Inclusive in Technology, EVIT, Empowering Women in Technology. Both organizations come together, and on behalf of both the organizations, I would like to officially welcome you to the IWD 2022, the events that brought to you by IBS Software this year. Year on year, we follow the tradition of bringing in a bouquet of events during International Women's Day. We now celebrate IWD as a month-long series of events by collaborating with our partner ecosystem. Industry partners like NASSCOM, Technopark, GTech, Kerala State Women's Development Corporation, Digital University of Kerala, Technopark Hospitals, all of them join hands with us on this journey. And our associates are CC Hub, the childcare facility in Technopark, and Technopark Today, the news portal that connects us all. And our corporate partners, starting with IBS Software, Quest Global, H&R Block, Axia, Finastra, Noratel, Pressgani, Reverie Global, Reflections, and Timetronics are our pillars of strength in this journey of breaking the bias to create a more equitable ecosystem, leveraging technology as a force multiplier. IWD 2022 have a lineup of 4 segments this year. We, NASSCOM Excellence Award 2022, are recognizing inspiring leadership and team achievements through 4 individual awards and 1 team award. On-stage contest is currently in progress for the finalists. An insightful first session was conducted yesterday, and the second one is lined up for tomorrow. The second segment is the social media challenges, where you can participate in fun contests ranging from video challenge, shout out, and quizzing contest, and win exciting prizes. The third segment is the webinar series, as we see now, Break the Bias. Break the gender bias on 1st March, break the financial bias on 4th March, break the boundary bias on 8th March, and break the breast cancer bias on the week commencing 15th March are the sessions lined up under this segment. Each of these events will have a lineup of great speakers from different walks of life, helping us delve deeper into our own unconscious biases and hidden biases. Identify the hidden biases and tackle them on our journey to create an open, inclusive, and equitable ecosystem around us. The 4th segment is the grand finale on 11th March, with a keynote speaker announcing the winners of the NASSCOM Excellence Awards. The celebrations will then be concluded with the thank you tradition we follow year on year, acknowledging and appreciating the support we receive from the extended team of support staff in our Technopark campuses. Even during the lockdown days, our team of support staff who had kept the IT campuses in Technopark like an oasis of green and fresh air. We would like to present them with a thank you hamper with goodies and voucher for health checkup. This will be an on-premise event as part of the IWD finale in the week commencing 15th March. Let's leverage this opportunity to meet in the campus on this day to kickstart our back to office journey this year. Those who are interested to join us and participate in the webinars and challenges, please follow us on our social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can also drop a mail to our website to be part of this community and contribute, collaborate, and celebrate together. We'll share the links to the social media handles here on the chat soon. And let us come back to the event of the day. Break the Bias webinar series kickstarting today. Today, we are attempting to break the gender bias, an insightful, soul-searching journey into the gender spectrum and where we are on that journey right now, and where we want to reach, and how are we going to plan our journey. That will be the crux of our webinar today. And as I mentioned, a very impressive lineup of speakers and a very versatile moderator who will fire up your thoughts. I would now like to welcome our moderator to help you navigate through the journey with the speakers. Arati Rajeshwari is the General Manager and Head of Products in Suntech Technologies. She's the founder and the charter president of Technopark Toastmasters that helps techies explore their leader within themselves in a curated and supportive environment. So over to you, Aarati, to take the show on.
Thank you, Radhika, for the introduction. Very happy to know about all the initiatives that VWIT has been doing, and this is going to be an activity-packed month for all of us. And I'm really happy to kickstart one of the initial programs and the first of the web series on the UN theme, Break the Bias. But before we start, let me just start with a small story. A mother was reading out a bedtime story to her little girl. And the story went, the princess went to sleep, crying in that lonely tower. Her pillow was wet with her tears. She waited for another day, waiting for the prince to come and rescue her. The little girl suddenly asked her mother, why should a prince come to rescue her? Why can't she help herself? The mother was a little taken aback, not expecting a question like that. Back in a fairy tale, she had never asked such questions. So she hushed the child back to sleep. Time for you to sleep. Shh. Good afternoon, my dear friends. We have all been hushed to silence when we have questioned anything that is considered out from the normal. And this year, the UN theme for International Women's Day is Break the Bias. We have all been witness or been a part of the bias ourselves. When it comes to inclusion or inclusivity, there is a lot of stereotypes that we have. So today, what better topic to have than a discussion on bias and the stereotyping that affects the inclusion of the society in general and workplace in particular, and the way to address this. And today, to make our conversation open and inclusive, we have lined up a set of panelists here. Eminent panelists to share their views and solutions for the gender bias faced by women and specifically LGBTQ community. So let me welcome my panelists for the day. Panelist number one is, I have Dhanya Srikumar with me. She's a manager of technology working with H&R Block. She has around 17 years of IT experience in the technical and leadership roles. And she has worked prior to H&R Block with companies like Infosys and UST. She loves meeting people and interacting with people, which motivates her to be an avid promoter of diversity and inclusion and people engagement initiatives. She was also the receiver of Trivandrum Infosys Women Achiever Award for the extra mile contribution to project delivery. Dhanya, we are so happy to have you as one of our panelists. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Aarati, and it's my privilege to be here.
Likewise. Speaker number two is Heidi Sadia, the first transsexual broadcast journalist. Heidi is quite popular in the media as well as in the social media because she runs a social media, a YouTube channel of her own, which has around 2 lakh subscribers. And she is the voice for a lot of ideas that she wants to promote through her channel. Heidi was the first transsexual broadcast journalist. She graduated from the press club in Trivandrum with high flying colors, and she was immediately offered job in the media houses in Kerala. After trials of 2 media jobs, she is now currently working with an MNC in a slightly different but associated corporate communication line. So she brings in an experience from the media as well as the corporate side. Heidi, we are so happy.
Most welcome. So happy to be here.
Yeah. A third panelist was Sanjana, but she is having some technical difficulty. As a result, she might be a little late. And while she joins, maybe we should start off and let her in when she is in. And the fourth panelist for today is Radhika. Radhika is a seasoned HR professional. Now she has over 20 years of experience in HR, and she's very passionate about diversity, equity, inclusion, and a very active member of the Women in IT Forum. She loves debate any day. And so we are so happy to have you on board this panel, Radhika. We hope that you bring in that flavor of debate for us discussion today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arati.
Thank you. Now, as mentioned, our topic today is break the gender bias. So initially, to set the context, let me just go around asking all the panelists, what is their take on the theme, break the gender bias? What is that they have felt about this theme at their workplace? Danya, probably we could start with you. Break the gender bias. How has it been, your experience in the 16 years that you have spent in the IT industry?
Yeah, thank you, Arati. So let's start with what is gender bias, which most of us know. But to put it very simple, it's a tendency to prefer one gender over other, right? So it can be a conscious bias or an unconscious bias. A conscious bias meaning, they're aware of their prejudice, but the unconscious bias or the implicit bias is when one individual unconsciously attributes certain stereotypes to a gender. Now, these are what people absorb from the environment that they have been raised or they are living through, and that gets imprinted in their minds and it influences their outlook towards the society. Now, this unconscious bias is what is more difficult to address because it has to start with creating an awareness about it before you actually try to curb it. Now, does gender bias exist? Yes, it does. And I'm not here to talk with the assumption that it exists, but I'm aware of it, that it exists. And I would like to highlight the impact or the challenges of this gender bias or stereotyping, basically under two broad categories. One being your personal work-life balance or your personal side of it, which is like a work-life balance. And the second is the impact at the workplace. Now, finding a work-life balance is a challenge for both the sexes. But, for our socio-cultural norms, unlike men, a working woman is expected to attain that perfection in all the multiple roles that she juggles between on a daily basis. Now, we all know that women are excellent multitaskers by nature, but sometimes the inability to achieve this so-called perfection in all the spheres, that would result in that unnecessary guilt, depression, and it can impact the relationships as well. So that's one side of your, the impact of the gender bias. The second is what we mostly talk about is the impact of the bias at the workplace. Now, women, it's mostly, as I've said, there are two kinds, basically. It's the conscious and unconscious bias. But what I feel is it's predominantly the unconscious gender bias that exists at the workplace, which the women experience, and the impacts being, the missing opportunities that may be given to perhaps a less qualified male counterpart, or that can be even, they see a drastic difference in the pay structure or lack of recognition for the effort and hard work. So what is the impact out of this? The impact is we see the confidence gap is widening. The men-women confidence gap is widening, the lower job satisfaction. And eventually, we see women quitting from their careers much early and being, psychologically, physically stressed out, exhausted, and contributing to, again, the women lower socioeconomic status. So this is what I would like to highlight as the introductory note on what is the impact of this gender bias in the society from these two wide angles.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe next I will have Heidi on Spotlight. So Danya, you covered a lot of topics there. You explained the gender, you said the context of gender bias, making it very clear, a good start to this meeting. And you had beautiful thoughts about the conscious and unconscious bias, which I need to come back to later. and the point on perfection and the confidence gap. In fact, you had so many points that I need to come back to you, but let me get it from Heidi next. Heidi, break the bias. When I tell you that, what is that comes to your mind? Let's hear from you.
The thing is that myself is a bias. I mean, I'm a great example for that. I'm not only me, the entire LGBTIQ person is a great example for that. The individuals are entitled to enjoy a number of liberties, but there should be certain restrictions for well-being of our society. We all know that. For me, according to me, the equality means including us, especially queer people, in every sector. So basically, everywhere the people were addressing only male and female, either female or male. Thinking apart from that, so there is some human like it is voices. So we have to come in front of everywhere and to fight.
Heidi, your voice is breaking.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yeah. So we heard until you said that everywhere it is classified as male and female.
Yeah, there exists something apart from that. So we can't condition anything like, especially in case of sexuality and gender. So while considering human being, we should understand what their orientation, what is their gender, and what they are supposed to be. So yeah, for me, equality is the thing that should exist in this world, and also considering every human as they are. That is the major part, or that's the major thing. And so-called things will happen. Yeah. And yeah.
So probably to save bandwidth, you can turn off the video. A suggestion,
Heidi,
please.
we will be coming back to you on that. And thank you for bringing up the perspective from your area of work. We would really like to know your experience on inclusion and diversity in both your lines of field, media as well as in the corporate. Now, Radhika, to you now. What does breaking the bias mean for you, the gender bias mean for you?
Thank you, Aarti. One thing that comes to my mind whenever I'm thinking of this bias is the unconscious bias that we carry within ourselves, the hidden biases, and knowingly or unknowingly, we carry a lot of stereotyping and bias in our minds. And that is something that we carry for generations now. So especially in the gender spectrum, we talk about women. Yes, now we know that men, women, they are equal. They have to be given equal opportunity. There should be equity. And even then, at that point in time, we tend to talk about the in binary in the terms of men and women only. The transgender community has been totally excluded. Even in my mind, I have started interacting with the transgender community probably 10 or 15 years back. Till then, I was totally clueless about their existence, except for in movies or in literature where they are depicted in a different light and always ridiculed and laughed at. And so from there, when I had a lived experience of interacting with the transgender community, and I realized they come with a totally different perspective about life, about viewing things. And it is just, if we can start accepting another human being with all their differences, that would be a good start for all of us. That is a realization that has set in my journey towards breaking the bias. And in that journey, one question actually resonates in all my thoughts. Whenever somebody raises something and saying, no, that cannot be done, no, that is not acceptable, my immediate reaction has become, why not? Why are you saying it is not acceptable? Why are you saying that it cannot be done? So the world is so open, inclusive. It has to be accommodative of all thought processes, all perspectives, for each one of us to get that 360 degree perspective about life, and all activities that we indulge in, all projects that we are engaged in, all the social changes that we are trying to bring in. So that 360-degree perspective is what I'm trying to achieve when I am breaking my bias and listening into Heidi and Sanjana and everyone with a different perspective and from a different background. So that is gender bias, and that is breaking the gender bias for me, Aarti, as I look at it.
Yeah, thank you, Radhika. It was very interesting to know that you have been exposed to this for 12 years, probably by virtue of the organizations that you've worked with, the MNCs that you've worked with. So that shows that probably in the corporate sector, the maturity to accept all categories are there. She feel the difference in inclusion in the two different areas that she has worked in, the media as well as in the corporate. Heidi, would you be able to come back on camera? All right. While we wait for Heidi to come back, let me go back to Danya on the point that she said. Unconscious bias, we are very clear with the conscious bias, the society being, having a perspective of the patriarchal society. So we are very clear on the unconscious bias. But what about the unconscious bias? What is that you wanted to highlight about unconscious bias that happens in our workplace?
Yeah, so definitely, as we know, it exists. So as a next step for the future generation, we can start working on it by inculcating that within the family, or we can start from the family. We can actually start, educating our boys, because, I always feel that transformation should start from home, right? Because a boy or a male who grows up in an environment where he sees a woman being respected, empowered, and treated equally, that becomes a part of his culture, and eventually that gets extended to his society or workplace, wherever. But unfortunately, we live in the present, and how we can fix it in the present is what we need to think of. So I think consciously we need to have steps or processes in place within the organization where we can actually fix that technical gap there. So I feel most important thing is, like, we do have a lot of processes in place within the organizations, not all organizations, but still in many organizations, which are prone to bias, which are prone to this unconscious bias. We may not be aware of it. So the first step is, like, we need to take a conscious step to identify all those processes that may be prone to this bias. And for this, you need to actually work through the real data. You need to work through the data and understand. And this being the first step, the next step is, once you identify this, you need to think through on how to formalize and standardize all these processes to make it gender neutral. So that should be the first point. And standardization can be brought in a lot of processes within the organization, be it recruitment or performance management, pay structure. Having said that, I would still want to reiterate that this is not something which we see in all organizations, but there are organizations where it still exists. And the second being, you need to be very transparent and honest on your communication with your workforce, on your gender statistics, with a clear action plan on the steps that you're taking as an employer to bridge this gender gap. So first and foremost being, you need to create the awareness in the workforce that such a thing exists. I know that at least, more than 50% of the workforce is unaware of it. As we say, it's an unconscious bias. People are not aware of, though it's within them, they are unaware of it. So first you need to make them aware that such a thing exists. This is the impact. And we need to be as an employer, we need to be very transparent in our communication, setting clear, targets and milestones. And this will create a sense of trust within the employees. And trust me, these are few of the things that we follow in our organization, and it does work. And the next, what I would feel is like, promote a culture of meritocracy, or you need to promote a culture with where great ideas are welcome from all levels, all genders, which is totally unbiased. So people should feel free to come forward, open up, speak. So as an employer or as an organization, you need to start promoting that culture, which itself would help in creating that transparency. So these are my 2 cents on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Danya, for covering that. Heidi, are you back in an area where we have a better coverage? I think the next time Heidi has a good coverage, we should grab her. Yes. Let's wait for that. Radhika, I have a question for you. Picking up from what Danya said about the unconscious bias, where at the workplace, we might encounter a lot of unconscious bias. A woman, a female not being recognized for her meritocracy, for the skills that she have, but always being, there's always a doubt that she got in because she's a woman or she is pretty, etc. And sometimes the compliments that we give women when we introduce them, when we make them a part of some association, complimenting them for their looks, etc. I find that that is also an unconscious bias, that you are discriminating between two employees. And there are cases when a promotion is up for grabs, a travel is up for grabs, people unconsciously think, oh, she's a woman, she may not be able to travel, she may not be able to take up that job. So there are unconscious bias in all of us. How do you think the work culture or the HR policies can help fight that?
It's actually a long journey, isn't it? Step by step, because it is about social change and then mindset change. And positive affirmation is what we need to practice in workplaces. And if you look at each industry, the IT industry has actually made very positive, if you look at IT, we have made a head start in terms of equity and then gender inclusion. DEI is a very favorite topic for multinationals. And they also talk about inclusion and then addressing the biases in every conversations in their employee interactions. So why do we have this happening in this industry? And I have been thinking about it. Why IT industry has a head start on gender inclusion and DEI initiatives? And there's a clear business imperative to what we are doing right now in the information technology framework. So in this world where we are talking about metaverse and then gaming softwares and all the technology upgradations and innovations that is happening day by day, thought diversity is of paramount importance. When we are talking about thought diversity, a set of people who are with the same from the same background, with the same upbringing, if they sit together and brainstorm, their thought process will also be in the same line. Their ideas will look like assembly line products. There will not be any authenticity or creativity or originality in their thought process. So if you really want to make changes, social changes, technology changes, or innovation, we need to bring in that thought diversity in everything that we need to do. So how do we cultivate that thought diversity in corporate culture? That is by bringing in people from different background, different ethnicities, different gender in the same room, and ask them to look at an object objectively. Everybody, if they're looking at a coffee mug from different angles, they will come up with varied views, and they will be able to articulate that view and develop a different product altogether. And some out of the box thinking, all that will come in only when we can cultivate and encourage this thought leadership and thought diversity. That is exactly the reason why IT industry is propagating this world over, and multinational companies had identified the importance, and also they have realized that the resource pool that needs to be enhanced, the workforce has to be all inclusive. Otherwise, they will be limited and restricted to a limited workforce. So the talent pool, the resource pool, all need to be diverse and very strong in this parameters. And that is another reason why corporates are looking at thought diversity and gender diversity as a key, key growth engine, as we can see. So that could be one reason IT is transforming rapidly towards this agenda.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Radhika. As you said, the IT or the corporates in the IT sector have really gained momentum in their thoughts, the process, probably because of the exposure that had. And incidentally, while we were chatting with Heidi, she was comparing the media domain that she was working in versus the corporate domain that she was working in. The media is primarily a male-dominated environment, so where she had really a tough time breaking the bias and moving forward, not just for her because she is different, but even for her female colleagues. They had to face a lot of bias in that. Let's hope that Heidi is able to join back. But going back to the point, the corporates having policies consciously to do this, and the unconscious bias Danya mentioned starts from the society. Reena, if you're there, can I ask your view on the society part of the unconscious mind? What can we do to, before we bring these people into the corporates, they belong at home, they belong into the larger society. How can that unconditional bias be addressed before they enter the workforce? Would like to? Reena is a multi-talented person with 20 plus years of in the training side, setting up IT, is an entrepreneur setting up businesses from scratch. So I think you're very qualified to talk about it. Would like to hear from you, Reena.
Thank you, Arati. I believe that it has to start from home, unconscious bias, because when you look at the home front, girls are generally encouraged to do housework, and they're also encouraged to, they are taught what type of jobs you have to select. Like if it's civil engineering or if it's mechanical engineering, they will tell you, oh, that will be very difficult for a woman. And also the other thing that I notice is they will encourage women even now to go into a job that allows you to work from 9 to 5, because a woman is supposed to come back home, be there for the children and take care of them. They don't understand the concept of quality time, that what the child needs is time to be spent with the focusing on the child, that it can be any time. So those kind of biases exist even today. uh, for example, last week there was a workshop, and I heard people say things like we should not encourage our children to work in the IT sector, because they will have to work longer hours, then they will not be able to, they'll be too tired to have children, അതുകൊണ്ട് we should not actually encourage kids to go to the IT sector. Or even we need to, they are suggesting that we need to tell the girls that they have to go for jobs that will only allow them to work for a certain time, no night shift. So these kind of biases exist even today. I just saw that message that Heidi will join now, so I'll wait for Heidi to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Reena. Before Heidi joins, Heidi has not joined it. Can I call Arunima? Arunima, again, you have a multitude of experience in working in IT companies. And can we hear from you on your take on the bias at workplace, especially towards women, and how the organizations that you have been part of have put in a culture to fight that?
Thanks, Aarti. It's always nice to be in this kind of conversations. You see, gender bias is real. How much of our effort, organization, or as individuals we do, it still exists. Okay. Now, the organizations which I was part of in the past, Infosys, Safran, Finastra, and now Wells Fargo, all of them have great policies and programs which will educate the different team members to to develop an unbiased culture, be conscious about their biases and biases. However, as you said in the beginning, when it comes to certain decisions, it exists. If there is a travel opportunity, or if there is a critical project coming up which requires extended work hours, it automatically goes to guys. When there is a leadership position, it also goes to guys. But and on the other side, while organizations tend to reduce this gap, what happens is it gets tagged as there is a reservation for women, which is also not something which people like us would like to have, that we got this position only because I'm a woman. That's something which we want to be recognized, or we want to be given a position, or we want to be selected for an opportunity only because of our capability and not because we are a woman. While organizations are doing their bit, I think each one of us have a role to play there. The first one being, we need to be aware that this is real, and if people are showing it to us, we need to open up and I wouldn't say question, but we need to share our views in a subtle way that it doesn't hurt the feelings of the other gender, because it's a very tricky subject to be dealt with, right? If we raise our voice, it automatically get again tagged as, okay, she's very aggressive. So that should not happen. But however, I've seen there is a change. People, when they are told, okay, this is not something which is expected from you, they are at least able to acknowledge, yes, I did a mistake and I'm sorry, I will try not to do it again. Okay, there are many colleagues who have told me this in the past. So from us being women and also from the LGBT community, what we need to be doing is, we need to be cognizant of this fact that it could happen, and we will have several struggles to face like this, but we need to tackle that one by one and make sure that we gather more people into our inclusive agenda.
Thank you, Arunima, for touching on that points. Now we have Heidi back. Heidi, are you available?
Yes, I am.
So we missed you while you were on the move. Thank you for joining back again. I had put a question for you but I did not notice you were away. Question was, Heidi, you have worked both in the media side as well as in the corporate. So from your discrimination at workplace, does that change drastically between these two domains? I remember you saying that the media was a very male dominated domain. So we would like to hear your version of that and your struggle there.
I think it is better to explain this entire scenario. That would be more interesting
Please
because
do.
and realistic. Okay. Once I completed my post graduation in electronic journalism from Press Club, for as with my friends, I joined in a particular company, which is a media company, which is very prominent Malayalam channel. So yeah, for internship purpose only. Third day of the internship, my results were announced, and that was very good result. And it got an attention in media, Malayalam media. So they recognized me as they understand me that I'm a trans person. I didn't till that moment I didn't reveal my identity because I don't want to get any discrimination during my internship period. So yeah, once they understand, they offered me a job, and I joined there as lateral entry candidate, and I was so happy. Third day of the my work, I got an opportunity to report Chandrayaan 2. Uh, that was a historical moment because once I reported that particular news, the two histories were happened on that particular day, September 12th, September 2nd.
Heidi, are you there?
Hello.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, the second thing is India's first transsexual broadcast, Hedi Sadia, were born on that particular day. So yeah, that's it. So I got a very good attention, media attention on initial days. Maybe that made some curiosity in between my colleagues. Most of them were started to ask me, what is in between your legs? What is your life story? Why you become like this? Why can't you be like as what conditioned before? Uh, the questions were very harassing questions. So I tolerated and I suffered, and I'm silent. I keep silence on particular moment because I need work experience, and I don't want to uh, lose my opportunity. So that's why I patiently I show some patience in front of my colleagues. Later on, they getting opportunity to me made lots of issue in between the other this colleague. So that made me very sad, and uh, they will started to bullying me. They started to harass me in very cheap way because they don't want me as a colleague in that particular firm. But the authority were quite uh, encouraging, but unfortunately, colleagues were very horrible. So I left that job because I forcefully left that job. So I joined, later on I joined in a corporate. It was really amazing. It is really amazing because still I am in that corporate, and we have policies that protecting our rights, which is very transparently. The company right now which I am working have transparently policies and inclusions and diversity. They give importance for inclusions and diversity, and all those things were entirely different from uh, the previous company which I worked. So media is the firm which where we can do our activism as a trans person. But unfortunately, my every hope were you know I lost my all hope in media. So that's why I left that job and I'm working in a corporate because we need a job for our skill. So yeah, this was my experience in both media and corporate.
Heidi, thank you for sharing that. That was a real eye opener for most of us here because we expect the media to be the face of the society, the advanced society, and when they advocate all the forward policies, what happens behind the camera, behind in the teams? That sounds very surprising. That the processes are not mature. The curiosity of people that leads to bullying with their questions, the way they treat you, the bullying that you said. I think the curiosity factor is what is taking it to the bullying factor. So I think there is a need for education, the sex education to be more rampant so that people know and accept all of this together. So what do you think that, and as Radhika was mentioning in a chat earlier, that there are government policies for trans policies, but you feel that they are not effective unless a corporate has their own set of policies in place and a strong structure to support that. These policies do not actually reach out for the general public. So what do you have to say about that?
So
There's something we can do.
yeah. Um, Kerala is the first state where transgender policy is implemented in internationally. In world, it is first time a policy is for transgender. It is by Kerala only. This policy which is referring by another states and implementing. So unfortunately, we have the state policy, we have national policy, but we don't have any particular policy or at least mentioning in uh, workspace or any private firm as well as the government firm. So by name it is by name it is that we have policy for which is very inclusive to the trans people. But unfortunately, in some sort of area, that is not, accepting, kind of not accepting. They were not aware about what is happening around us and what is included in this, what is mentioning all in this, Kerala state transgender policy as well as transgender justice. So we have transgender cell here. We have under social justice department we have transgender justice board. We have transgender cell, and we have many other schemes. But all these were existing. Still, we have lack of awareness in some work field. I mean work form. That is what our drawback. That is the drawback, or that's the biggest challenge which we are facing. At least we can make mandatory, or we can we can implement uh, a particular thing in this policy, that every workspace there should be a transgender transgender acceptance and a transgender trans-friendly workspace that can be included by that can be made mandatory on uh, this transgender policy, or we can make a circular from the part of government, from the side of government regarding with the trans friendly atmosphere in workplace. Because unfortunately, I'm a victim that were harassed or bullied by workplace, which is very progressive care, which is particularly progressive, which the company is situated in in progressive Kerala, capital city of progressive Kerala. That is very sad moment or sad things that which I am faced.
Heidi, you mentioned that you probably had a privilege and you were able to fight it and find your own space. The communication part, you thought the media would be a voice for you, but it did not help you in the way it intended to. So now you have your own social media channel where you are very active. Now, how has that helped you to reach out to your to a larger community and spread the message, the awareness? How has that helped you with your cause?
Yeah, my channel, the first thing that I can say, I educated a lot of people about what is sexuality and gender, and what is unity in diversity. Because through my YouTube blogging, I created an awareness in between very common people. What real life? That may be through real life blogging and daily life blogging, not as in the sense of professional reporting and all, but fortunately I did lots of sensitization in society regarding with trans, what is regarding with gender uh, differences, or uh, regarding with pure lifestyle and all. So with that, many of trans people, if somebody, many of people were facing issue regarding with getting homes for rental. That changed the graduate particular thing, and accepting the trans people in everywhere, in society, acceptance, getting in colleges and getting jobs for in living in a rural area, living like a common people, like a common person, living as living like in equality. All those things were happened, or all those things were the perceptions were changed through these 3 years of YouTube activism. Yeah, that is the major thing I can address here.
Yeah. So you are quite right in that the number of viewerships on YouTube has increased in this pandemic era. Lots of people are reaching out to lots of people. The connectivity has been great, and I'm glad that you're using that very positively. Viewers, please note that Heidi has a channel of the same name where she has a lot of videos. Like she shared, it's not a it's a down-to-earth talk that she has from her experience and the various interviews that she has given. Please follow that. Now, Danya, there is a question that's coming back to you. Everybody is talking about, even Arunima mentioned that when you are faced with a discrimination, you need to speak up. You need to stand for yourself in a way that is not considered as aggressive. You can be assertive, but not aggressive, because coming from a woman, that has to be taken care of twice as much instead of a male. And you also mentioned the confidence gap between men and women. So can we come back to the topic and listen to you on the confidence gap and how women consider that? Are they pulled down by that?
I can just quote a simple example here. So if you happen to go through a JD, okay, a job profile, okay, so same profile, job profile you give to a male and a female, I'm sure 90% of the male, they will just glance through it and they'll just take it forward. They feel they are confident enough to apply for that. But when it comes to women, we go through it once, twice, thrice, and we try to see how much we are not fitting into that than what, how much we fit into that. It's a reality. It is a reality. Maybe me, many of you, we do that because we want to ensure there could be two aspects to it, because as I said, women strive for perfection. There could be one reason. The second is like, we question our confidence. We question our confidence. So that's the first thing that you need to eliminate. And if you see it's the data or the statistics say that with the pandemic, this confidence gap has been widening. And there are a lot of studies over that. And that is something, what I feel is as the first step, people talk about women empowerment. Yeah. So see, my stand on that is you don't have to wait to be empowered, right? Every woman has that spark within. The only thing is you just need to ignite it at the right moment. Just ignite the spark. You can leap. You can conquer the world. And once you do that, you will realize that the whole world is there to support you. So I feel, so it's just an extension to what Heidi or Arunima said. See, we have a lot of processes in place in all the organizations to tackle this gender bias. We have a lot of good things, but it still exists because the unconscious bias is something that have been inculcated in an individual because of the environment that they have grown. It's not very easy to eradicate it out of their mind. So it exists. We need to live. We need to tackle it and live through it. And for that, the first thing is, get self-empowered. Ignite that spark of empowerment, and you need to come out of that shell. And as you said, probably that may be tagged as being aggressive or so many other tags. I don't want to get into that, but when you know what you stand for, what you talk for, if you are confident on that, I don't think you have to worry about the society or what the other person thinks. So that's my stand on it. And in this process, I believe that women can be the best companion for the other fellow women, who can actually help and support.
Thank you, Danya. So you're saying that this is not going to go away. We learn to live with it, but we condition the environment around us and we equip ourselves to be empowered within. In the chat, I see a comment from Shajil Sainuddin. Do you want to come on video if you're all right and share your view? Because I think what you are saying is really important.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I just want to say to Heidi that probably we are privileged that we are in the right place in the right time. And thank you for inviting us for this kind of a conversation. We just want to say that we are a group of Pride allies where we have constituted a team where, we take care of, we have taken responsibility that we will do whatever it takes, that we will try our best, that we will do, and we will try to help the third gender to come up in life, because our organization Allianz is taking the road of getting this third gender to stand up in their life. And we are doing whatever, like to give you an example, we are 79 people strong in this group, and we have and I have Suji also in this group, who must be listening to me. I fully agree with what Heidi mentioned, because when we started this program, we were looking at what is the demographics Kerala has. And Kerala, when we looked at the census 2011, we saw that there are around 3,902 transgenders in Kerala alone, with a literacy rate of 84%. But sadly, like we've seen the Protections of Right Action 2019 in December, which was passed by the government. But the act prohibits discrimination against a transgender person in matters like education, employment, healthcare services, accommodation, right to acquire property, and other public services and facilities. But sadly, we still are far from fetching them a much more equal, respected, and accepted platform of livelihood. And this community remains secluded, stigmatized, and distressed by the indifference the society enforces on them. And we as allies want to invite Heidi, and Heidi, I would vouch for this, that please extend your support to us, where you can go out and call all your friends who are looking for a job in a multinational organization like Allianz. And we are 79 to 80 people strong who will stand up and who would do whatever it takes to make you stand tall in the society. And the least which we are looking at is we want to give you an opportunity to be integrated into the mainstream. And that's what our motto is. So I think I feel very blessed and privileged that we are a part of this forum. Thank you.
Shajil, thank you so much for sharing your views and making it clear to all of us what Allianz stands for. We are so happy to hear that. Thank you for sharing it with us. Radhika, now I have a question to you. There are policies or conscious effort to bring LGBTQ community back into the workforce. But when we were talking with Sanjana, she said most of these people, they drop off at school level or at college level because it is the time of the peak education that they go through their establishing their identity. So might be a emotional time for them, and they might have to compromise on their education. So when you're looking for hiring people into the workforce in an IT, in the corporate sector, they may not be well skilled for that. So does HRs consider this while hiring into the organizations?
In my previous organization, I have seen this LGBTQ focused hiring happening at India level. And then they were interacting with Pride Circle to source CVs and then schedule interviews. As rightly pointed out by Sanjana and Heidi, there is lack of technically qualified CVs in their community. And yeah, the school dropouts, college dropouts, they will not be able to pursue higher education for whatever social discrimination that they are facing and the trauma that they go through. That is the reality, the ground reality. So most of them have completed their 10th standard or +2 education. How do we put them into the stream and then equip them, provide them employment, livelihood, and then they will be able to pursue their higher education? So that is the model that we discussed and tried to implement. And at that point in time, it was not very effective for the simple reason that a housekeeping staff or a support staff, the salary that they would be getting will be too low for a transgender to survive in a city like Bangalore if they have to relocate and take employment in companies in Bangalore. So they have to find employment in their hometown. If it is in Kerala, in one of the districts, then an IT park or a enterprise, a private institute, they should be willing to employ them and then give them the livelihood, and they will be able to step up. And Sanjana has rightly pointed out that the transgender community are very good in communication. So if you remove this graduation barrier from the job description in the ITES industry, if companies can hire for capability and skill rather than educational certificates, then we will be able to tap into their community. They are very articulate in nature. They are very creative in nature. So they will be able to do the designing work. They will be able to do internet marketing, digital marketing, and then chat box conversations and support system. There are a lot of online jobs that these people will be able to pick up. Only stopping or caveat there is, if you put a barrier there saying we will hire only graduates, then all of them, the entire community, 99% of them will get eliminated in the first round itself. So one thing that we need to focus on LGBTQ hiring is remove the barrier, remove the graduation barrier from their journey. So help them, equip them, give them that relaxation on the educational qualification, hire for skill, hire for potential, hire for talent. Then we will be able to support the community. So we should start an empathy partner program to get this going. Collectively, we will definitely be able to do that, because I heard Allianz, Shajil and Suji talking about various programs their organization is open to. And I know Finastra is very much focused on LGBTQ hiring. Most of the multinational companies such as Arblogs and Suntech, IBS, all of you would be actually open to this concept of removing the educational barrier when we are hiring LGBTQ, and we will be able to crack this in the long run.
Radhika, if I may just top up your comments, just to answer that, in Allianz, we do have non-voice process where graduation is not required if the person is just 12th standard. And secondly, the school of thought which we have deployed as Pride, part of Pride, is that we are saying that this community has been secluded and stigmatized so much by the society. So how can we expect them to be, fully, graduated or probably having the same line of education? So what we were looking at is we thought that we will tie up with some NGOs like Trans Equality and Sahodri, which we have. But then I think if you ask me personally, we have an HR team within the Pride community. And what we are trying to do is that we are going to open up something where I would require Heidi's support, because we would require those folks to come up to this community, which we are all a part of. And what we are planning to do is we are going to mentor them from the basics to the process. When I say basics to the process, whatever is required to entitle themselves to be getting a job in Allianz, we will give them the basics and we will mentor them. We are conscious about the fact that they may not be that great from a skill perspective, and we will provide them the conclusive environment which they can proudly call their own space of righteousness. And out of that lot, we will do whatever it takes that we can take the best out of the better, and we will try mentoring more people. So I think that's where we are looking at, because we are conscious about the fact that we may not have future ready candidates when we are talking of the third gender, and that is where we want to take a first step forward to help them.
Thank you, Shajil, for sharing that. Let me also share something that we learned from Sanjana, where we were talking. Sanjana, as I mentioned earlier, is a student activist who could not join to us today. She is an activist and has been very vocal about what she wanted. One of the things that we discussed with her is how do we bring transgender people into the workforce. She said that for them, they prefer a very safe environment for them to work. So asking them to relocate to Bangalore or Chennai, etc., takes them out of their comfort zone because of the acceptance in the society. So any online jobs that they could do would help them build the confidence, and only then they would want to come out and work in a corporate environment. Maybe this is something that you're already addressing, but I thought it would be good to tell you, share with you what we learned in this process is they need a safe environment. They're going to be on a job or a livelihood earning, which is new to them. So there are going to be too many variables for them when they join a workforce. Most important for them is to establish a livelihood so that they can set their life in place. Because if they might have dropped out of their educational stream because of emotional or financial reasons, if they are stable, then they might want to pursue their education on their own. But for them, the first thing is earning the livelihood in a safe environment. If it can be an online job from the comfort of their home, that would give them a lot of confidence. And once they are ready, they might be able to venture out, because dealing with the society itself is a core for them. So thank you for sharing this with us, and I hope that there are some takeaways for you as well. Is there any questions from the audience? It has been a very engaging session. If there is any question, please raise your hands. I do not see any questions. So yes, Sri Kumar sir, would you like to come on camera? Sri Kumar sir is a very senior executive from Suntech. Glad to have you, sir. Can we have you on camera? And yeah.
Yeah, can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Actually, I was slightly skeptical to come on video because of the ambience. Anyway, I hope it's fine.
Yes.
Actually, I was, I just wanted to appreciate this initiative. Very glad that such initiatives are happening. It would be very helpful for women to empower themselves. I just wanted to share that in fact, I joined Suntech on March 8th, 2000, which is on the International Women's Day. So that way I am also connected with this movement. Actually, I just wanted to join, or I in fact agree with the point that I think two of the comments that came. One is that women have to be confident in themselves. Somebody was talking about the spark in them, for them to become very powerful or become very efficient. Because I am staying in Taikad, so when I go to Valdekar near the Annie Mascreen Square, we can find the picture of 35 eminent women pasted there. If you look at the desktop, you can see women like Mother Teresa, Srimati Indira Gandhi, and all these women, and Tessie Thomas, who had the first missile project of India. So the girls who go to the women's college, they all see these pictures of these 35 women. I mean, 35 is a small number. Actually, there are much more such eminent women in India. But seeing those women, they were really, watching them will definitely inspire them to kind of that spark. I think Tanya mentioned about that. So that is something that we can promote. So giving such such things. So people. So when this kind of performance comes from the women itself, the underestimation. I think the major cause for this gender bias is the underestimation of women, which is something I don't know why that happened. Maybe because of our legacy, but that is a fact. So this underestimation has to go out of by women performing themselves in different fields. That is what is happening in the IT field. That is point number one, just wanted to share. And second thing I wanted to share, it may be unpleasant thing to say, but it's a fact that, that also was mentioned by Tanya, that, women themselves can help other women to come up, to remove that gender bias. Recently, I was hearing a talk by Dr. P.C. Alexander, who was an IPS person. He said in one of his talks that when the government of Kerala decided to bring a woman head for the women police wing, no women IPS officer wanted that job, which means even a woman police officer doesn't want to be associated with a helping the women colleagues in her own department. So that mindset has to change, because it is in fact, I have also heard about one of my relatives in the bank, working in a bank, saying, so if I am having a male head, I am fine, but I don't want a female head. So what I infer from that is that there is some that helpful nature of bringing another woman can play a woman can play a great role in improving or removing the gender bias by bringing up more people up the ladder. So these are my observations, and this is what I want to share.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us. You your connection with International Women's Day, and now coming forward, you have certainly been a good ally for all of us. We will reach out for all support to you. And thank you for listening actively and taking points from Danya's and other speeches here. I saw one more raised hand. Jaya, would you want to come on screen and share your thoughts? Yeah, Suji, do you want to go next?
Hi, Aarti. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Wonderful. I am truly grateful and humble that, such a beautiful initiative is happening by such beautiful and eminent female folks and the members over here, because it really brings a lot of, thought process, a lot of ideas as to how to make the entire humankind more beautiful, a more safe place. Like, truly humbled by hearing Danya, Radhika, Heidi. It was, a spectrum of experiences which makes us feel that there's a lot more what we can give back. Like how Radhika was mentioning, if we can take away those, those mandatory criterias of education and bring it a little down where everybody has a space to live their life. Everybody has a space to, live their dreams, to follow their, passions in life. So it's truly humbling experience for me to be a part of this. And thank you so much, Radhika, for sharing this with me. Also, what I would like to share from our organization, like I work with Allianz for the last 9 years now, and I truly see we breathe the air of inclusion, especially when it comes to the LGBTQI spectrum. We create a lot of awareness initiatives, not just to the allies of the Pride community, but also to the entire, organization. Now, we need to do that because this is a topic which needs to get to a normalcy. If it needs to get to a normalcy, we need to start with education. Only when we have something which we understand, which we can feel and, analyze from the inside is what we are going to respect on the outside. Otherwise, we'll end up speaking, very subconsciously, creating those biases and creating those indifference, which we don't want to do, but we do it very unintentionally sometimes. So this is something what we are practicing day in and day out. We have a beautiful training initiative where we, have a very interactive session. It's not just one way, but we get to hear from the participants also their life experiences, maybe an encounter in the train or maybe an encounter on the Bangalore street, what they might have experienced with a transgender person, or maybe a child facing a transgender person and having that phobia and how did they overcome as they go. Like a lot of incidents, So it is not that anybody wants to be bad or anybody wants to be a criminal or anybody wants to be a murderer, but situations make them what they are. And if we don't stretch our arms forward, it's not a great place to be. The whole world, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of things happening currently in this moment, especially in Ukraine and most of the things. But how can we tap into, our human beloveds, around us and make a difference to their life matters the most. And I'm truly humbled by every word each one of the panelists have spoken, because it brings a lot more of love and belongingness and compassion more than anything I see. So thank you so much, and truly humbled to be here in this journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suji, for sharing your thoughts, your heartfelt thoughts. We are also very happy that this has been a very engaging conversation. In fact, I'm running almost out of time, and before Radhika shows me the red flag, but I still have two raised hands. It would be unfair not to let them speak. Shajil, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, if you see that the world has changed after 2007 when Apple was launched and Samsung and all those, Google, Amazon, I would say, Heidi, we are sitting in a world today where you are sitting where the generation which is joining the organization, around 46% of our organization right now are those millennials who were born with a Google in their hand. They grew up looking for information through Google. And I would say that this is the best time to be, where this is the most powerful moment to be, where whatever you want to say, you just type something and the whole world watches you and reads what you say. So I think this is the right time for, people of your, order and your caliber, that you need to come out in the open, and you just need to grab what the opportunity is there for you on merit, for what you deserve, what you should. And I think that's where we all are looking, and we all in Pride in Alliance, along with Suji, I just want to say that we are all there with you. We're just a call away. I've taken a note of your email address, and definitely I would get in touch with you through Pride. And just to answer the gentleman's question, I just want to say that the world is getting quite better from what it used to be, because we've seen Chhattisgarh announcing that they have taken 13, they've recruited 13 folks in the police, and likewise we've seen Karnataka taking the step. Kerala is not far away. I think AGDP Intelligence has slated to hear the inputs of the senior police officials, and very shortly we will see some recruitment for transgenders in the police force as well. Though it's it's a very different field for us, for me to comment on that, but definitely from an Alliance perspective, myself and Suji and our entire community in Pride, we would hold our hands up, and we would want to welcome you with open arms to please come and join Alliance and spread this word amongst your transgender friends that we are here to welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you. Your keynotes about, based on merit and dignity, that is what everybody is looking for, and appreciate that thought on that. Ajit, you had raised your hand. Ajit Pillai. All right. All right, that brings us to the end of this session, a truly engaging session. I had lots of fun moderating this. So other than the initial glitch, I think it went on very well. That is a learning for us as well. Can we have Heidi also on the screen so that we could take a screenshot first of the speakers, and then we would take a screenshot of all the members here. While we are arranging that, Zoom admin, please let me know when you have done the screenshot. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. It was a really great session. We had so many takeaways. We saw the perspective from Danya, from a corporate sector, from Heidi, from a very different sector. Thank you for introducing us to something that we have not had a chance to do. Radhika bringing in the perspective from the HR side, Suji and Sajal bringing in lots of information from Alliance, Arunima and Reena, who also joined to share. Thank you so much, and Sri Kumar sir also for sharing your perspective. Thank you all so much, and I hope that this session has been good in terms of the time that you have spent. You have gained a lot of information. I'm sure, Heidi, you have a lot of allies here, a lot of empathy partners here, and maybe you could be the spokesperson from your side, opening the gateway into Technopark. We would love to be associated with you, and let's continue the journey. So, admin, if you could just take a screenshot, that would be great.
It's done. Thank you so much.
With that, I would like to declare this meeting officially adjourned, the first web series on Break the Bias. I'm so happy for all the people who have tuned in and stayed on with us. And thank you, speakers, for taking your time out, Danya, Radhika, Heidi. Thank you so much. And we'll speak again, connect again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a beautiful evening.